Welcome back to Customized. We are joined by the Honey Badger and its owner, James.
Hi.
James,
how you doing,
welcome.
Sean? Good to meet you.
Thank you for joining us. James, tell us a little bit about the vehicle, the model. We obviously know it's a 76, but tell us a bit more about the vehicle.
Okay, so Land Cruiser 76, as you say, petrol engine, built in 2009. So then it was the 4.5 litre straight six. Also, it's an LX is the style.
The 4.5 straight six, so
Yeah.
it's not before the V.
Exactly that.
And it came with lockers or without lockers?
No lockers at all. I've installed an air locker on the rear now.
Okay, so in those days the LX was top of the range. You had electric windows, but you still
Exactly.
needed to get lockers.
Electric
right?
mirrors as well.
Oh,
then.
electric mirrors, hey. Aircon included or not?
Yeah.
Aircon included. So for our mates in South Africa and Australia that have to pay extra money to get the air conditioning in, yeah, it doesn't come standard.
Okay.
So we're going to run through the vehicle.
Sure.
James is going to tell us about this vehicle. We'll chat to James about his travels, but this vehicle is pretty much gone. You've done most of Southern Africa.
14 countries now.
14 countries, and you've shipped it all along, and she's been looking after you
Yeah, she's
and
looked
the
after
family.
me fairly well.
How many kilometers you got on her now?
Just over 200,000 now.
200,000, and she's going strong. I mean, we've been driving out today and not missing a beat. The old girl's going well.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's start off with the side of the vehicle. First things first, the rock sliders. I mean, this is...
Yeah, it took me a while to find to build it. When I first bought them, I assumed that the standard ones would be good. And then one day, stuck in the desert, trying to rock it out,
Yeah,
and it just bent.
and they just bent.
I couldn't believe it.
The aluminum ones are just...
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a Toyota. Why you give us those aluminum steps? It's pointless.
It's
we
a
just
waste
chuck them
of
away.
time.
So, yeah.
So this,
And
it's a
this
simple
you got,
design.
Where did you get this?
I got this from a place called Limbada, in Sharjah.
In Sharjah.
Which
And they've done quite a bit of bar
they've
work.
done
for
a
you.
lot of work. It took a while for me to find them. Actually, it was Rami who very kindly introduced them.
Okay.
And I literally just said, these are the things that I want. Here's my car,
And they measured
and I got
up.
it back done.
It looks.
So-
How long have you had this on now?
3.5 years probably.
So this has gone through the trips. It's
The whole, yeah.
the whole
the
Africa
whole thing.
bang shoot, and they look fantastic still.
Yeah, it's had a lot of help.
The color.
Yeah. There's a story behind that, to be honest. I'm not.
But it's not the original color,
It's
obviously.
not the original colour.
Yeah.
And I know there's something kind of classic about the original colour, but I didn't love it. I never
Yeah.
loved it.
Yeah.
And I rolled the car, unfortunately. I just bought it, I was ready, we were planning a big trip and we were getting ready to build it up. And I took it off into the desert and I was playing a bit too hard for a car that was new to me.
Yeah.
And rolled it, fairly slow roll, but it was like a Coke can. The roof was on the dashboard. I had to get the high lift off just to bring it high enough to be able to drive it out. Changed the spark plugs, and eventually we got it out.
No one injured though.
Luckily, no. There was a little bit of blood, but nothing serious.
Oh, that's why there's... Yeah. So it doesn't flip over. Wow. Good thinking.
And which will go to the interior, but since then you fitted a roll cage inside.
So we've got a roll cage now inside, and we replaced the whole of the shell.
Okay.
And when they were doing it, I just said, well, can you paint it another colour? And they said, sure.
Yeah.
So I went a little bit gangster.
What was
I
the
love it.
original? What was the original color?
It was white.
So
So,
it was
white
white.
with kind of red stripes. you
Okay.
know?
All right. Yeah.
Um,
So it looks like an ambulance. Mine looks like a damn
Exactly.
ambulance.
Exactly.
There's nothing you can do about it. One day I'll wrap mine as well,
Yeah.
but it just, there's nothing you can do about it. So we've got the bars. Let's move on to the roof while we're here.
Yeah.
I see you've got the ARB roof rack.
Yeah, the roof rack was, I wasn't really that fussed about the roof rack, but it was a tent that I wanted, and I
Yes.
knew that the roof rack went with the tent, and I knew that I wanted a steel roof rack. Again, I was planning to go on lots of bumpy tracks,
Yes.
and the alloy roof racks are great for so many reasons, but you do hear stories about them just crumbling
Of
to
course.
pieces.
Yeah.
Steel is heavy, but it's strong, and it is.
Yeah.
This has
And,
done many, many miles,
you know,
and it's fine.
It's stopping Botswana, Namibia. You don't really have place where you can buy wood. You have to stop, and the
Exactly.
hardwood is exceptionally heavy.
It is.
It's you know, A lot of people talk about weight on the roof and
Yeah,
so on
yeah.
and so forth, but when you are traveling on a GATS track and you are going through Africa, you're not
It's
traveling
fine.
at a hell of a speed.
Yeah.
You're going, and when you get close to your campsite and you see a big log, you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
pick it up and
You
put it up
can,
there.
and actually on the longer trips, I have an aluminium trunk up here that's full, and I have 2 jerry cans on the other side. I take them
Okay.
off in the UAE because
Yes.
you just can't fit in any
No.
shopping centres.
No, not at all.
I would say one disadvantage of having the weight on the roof is never really affected performance much, but it did actually cut the whole of the roof off. So here,
Okay.
here, both sides, here, and on the other side, which is severed right through.
Okay. So the vibration with the weight.
Over so much time, eventually it killed it. Not interestingly on the back, I have a lot of steel work on the back as well, and that
Yeah.
basically connects metal bumper chassis to the roof and has
the roof.
supported it. But again, I took it back to Limbada and they welded it back. Did a good job actually, I think.
And so I know a lot of the guys have gone with a full roll bar and they've actually taken the rack through the roof onto the roll bar.
Yeah.
Might be an option for future.
I think, yeah, actually I've never really thought of that before, but I guess that would work.
Yeah.
The only issue perhaps is if it's raining.
Yeah, look, I mean,
you might,
drilling through the roof is never the best option in the world,
Yeah.
but yeah, you give some, take some, I suppose.
Exactly.
All right, so moving on to, well, we've got the tent. You've gone with the ARB tent, obviously, with a roof rack.
Yeah.
As you said, ARB tent, ARB roof rack. They're comfortable, very well made, and you've had it for the whole trip, so.
I mean, I had a couple of issues with it, to be honest. My wife wasn't comfortable, so we actually went to, I think it was IKEA in the end, and bought a second mattress.
Okay.
So we got 2 mattresses in there. We got some nice sheets, good bedding. But the problem is, and perhaps something that ARB might consider for future tents, is the cover, which is very strong, excellent cover. It doesn't really allow the space to put the extra things in that you want to.
Of course.
So even now, I'll tell you the changes I've made in a second, but even now I still can't leave the pillows.
Okay, so it's yeah.
So it's because it's so tight.
It's
and
a
I've
real
now-
issue, not just even with these tents, with ground
With a
tents.
lot of them.
You know, you buy something, you pull it out for the first time, it never goes back.
Exactly.
Sleeping bags never go back. So,
Exactly that. So with the zip on here now,
Yeah.
this is now my 4th zip, I think,
Okay.
and each time I've moved it down.
Okay.
So it actually allows more space. You can see the original stitching up here for the zip,
Yeah.
and now I'm down here.
Okay.
So it perhaps makes it slightly less waterproof in a proper rainstorm.
Yeah.
But it means that I can actually fit more
stuff
inside.
in.
Which is good.
Another tip for that is instead of having the 2 mattresses, you can get the really thick yoga mats or those mats that you buy for your kids that like a puzzle shape, and you can cut them in and put them underneath your mattress. It doesn't take up that much space, but it gives you that
Just
extra
that little bit of extra cushion.
extra bit of comfort, which then does fit when you close it up.
Okay.
But or the only other thing is getting high density foam, but then you're ending up with the same problem. As soon as you fold it up, the high density foam just takes up so much space and you're
Yeah.
battle closing it.
The high density foam is what we got actually. That's what
Okay.
the second mattress is.
So and the reason why we carry the roof tents is so that you can leave your pillow, leave everything in there,
Exactly,
close
yeah.
it up, off it goes, because the space inside of the vehicle is there for safety and for your water and all that jazz.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't need to be running bulky stuff like pillows and
Exactly.
sleeping bags inside.
Exactly.
Interestingly enough, we were talking about the bar work earlier. We can't see it too well on this side over here, but you've strapped the max tracks to it. So this is
Yeah.
the bar actually joins up from here, goes to the roof rack, and then gives you your extra strength. But good place to keep this.
Yeah, I have to say the extra strength was accidental at the time. I didn't
Yeah.
really realise that was going to be a benefit until later. But yeah, max tracks are a nightmare, aren't they? They're useful. They're clearly good for getting out.
Have to have them, but
But
they're so
Where
bulky.
do you put them? Yeah.
Exactly.
If you don't have a roof rack, they've got to go inside the car, which is worse.
And I'm not much of a fan where the guys strap them onto the back over here. And I know
Yeah.
that the straps are really good, and I know the guys that are strapping them over here really like them. But I just think it creates so much wind deflection off the back.
Yeah. And
Oh, not deflection, sorry, wind resistance
Yeah.
over here. And with that pushing all the time, sooner or later you're going to lose it. And these aren't cheap.
And also there's another point, which and in the UAE fine, it doesn't really matter. In
Yeah.
Oman, this area, it's fine. But if you're going outside, stuff gets nicked.
Yeah.
And
I
a
see
strap
you've got your
takes a
locks
little
on.
knife. Every single thing, from even the light fittings, I had extra bars put on so I can drill a hole, put a padlock.
Yeah.
Everything is lockable. And this, they're going nowhere. I had to drill a slightly bigger hole to fit these through.
Yeah.
But
But it's
yeah.
exactly that, you know, and the reason why we purchase these trucks when we go to Africa is because there's so many of them on the road. So parts aren't a problem,
Exactly.
rims aren't a problem. The issue is that there are so many of them on the road, so whatever bolts on here, they like to bolt onto their own vehicles as
yeah.
well. So therein lies that complexity. All right, James, before we move over to the front of your vehicle,
Yeah.
I see you run BFG all-terrains.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think we need to talk about that.
I agree. There's nothing else to go with.
If you're a true overlander and you're going to be doing long distances with a heavy vehicle, and the last thing you want to do is be changing tires. Now, what have you done with the rear axle as far as correcting?
I haven't done anything actually.
So you've still got it, it's still offset?
Yeah,
it's still
well, I do have 1-inch spacers front and
okay,
rear.
so you got space.
Um,
But if you got 1 inch front and rear, then it's still
Exactly.
okay.
And the only reason I did it is having rolled, I wanted the roll cage and
Yeah.
a little bit more width.
Okay.
Even if it's not correcting
Yeah.
anything, the width is what I want.
How did you find that going through Africa, especially with the single track, and they do get pretty sandy?
Yeah.
And because the single track, it does this a lot with the vehicle, but with the tracks not being the same, did it make much of a difference?
I mean, I guess I never did it with anything else, so
Okay.
it was
So-
always normal for me, and I got used to it, and it.
you made it.
know, yeah.
You're here.
Exactly.
So let's move around to the front of the vehicle. So here we've got, this is the ARB for sure.
Yeah.
Yep, that's ARB. And you're running your high lift jack over here,
Yeah.
easily accessible. Once again, one of the most difficult things, your max tracks and these things, where do you put them?
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
and tons of people are going to say don't put it in the front because of an accident, and tons of people, but the way you've
I mean,
bolted yours on, it's not going
To
anywhere.
be honest, this started on the back, similar to your car.
Yes.
And then one of the wheels actually just fell off. It was a bad weld or something, and we lost it. It was in the middle of Nairobi. It was at night, and we just didn't want to stop.
Yeah.
So I went and bought this for an extortionate amount of money in Nairobi, and just had it welded on. And the guy did say, actually, if you're going somewhere like Europe,
Yeah.
they're not going to allow it on the front here. You're right. I agree. It's not going anywhere if I.
No, this is not
If
going
I
anywhere.
crash,
You know what?
but,
A lot of the guys, they go and mount them over here.
Yeah.
And as far as I'm concerned, that's probably the most dangerous place to
Yeah.
to mount it, because it doesn't matter
can
what
go
you do with the
either way.
bonnet. Bonnets aren't strong.
Yeah.
And this thing weighs so much. And in any kind of accident, this is either going through the vehicle in front of you or going through your windscreen.
Yeah.
And we don't have to talk about what happens then.
Exactly.
Your winch. You're running a worn 9,000 pound winch.
Yeah.
Did you use it much in Africa?
Just a bit. Just a bit.
The beauty of Africa is there's lots of trees.
Yeah. Although
Having
they're not
them here
always
in
where
the
you want them to
UAE
be.
is absolutely useless if you're on your own.
Yeah. I mean, I thought a lot about getting a ground anchor
Yeah.
here in the UAE. I think I probably won't, or maybe I will as a spontaneous buy one. It's one of those things that you probably never actually use.
I've got one.
And you've
Whenever
never
you want to
used it.
use it, you're welcome to come fetch it if you're going on a trip.
Yeah.
I do take it when Ant and I go into Liwa on our own, or if we had to do Wahiba Sands crossing on our own, I would
Yeah.
definitely take it. You'd be silly not to, because digging a hole with your spare tire it takes
Yeah.
time and energy.
Well, I also
but
think
other
that
than that,
with this,
oh yes.
you know, you can lift up wheel by wheel. You build your own hill and drive out. As long as you're not in the bottom of a bowl, you can get out.
Look, I think it's just the
Um,
witches' bowls that are the issue. That
Exactly,
you can spend 5 hours digging, or you can just take out the sand anchor. It's an
Exactly.
extra 18 kgs. If you use it once for the witches' bowl, it's far worth. It's
Yeah.
so worth it.
So yeah,
Um,
we used the winch quite a lot. I watched quite a few videos, spoke to a few people before I got it, and I would say the safety of the winches is really critical. It's so rare that you see people putting weights in the middle of the winch, or hooking it on the correct way, or using the chains for additional support.
Or just pulling it without a snatch, without the snatch block or
Yeah.
anything like that. The amount of weight that they put on, and that becomes
Exactly.
a deadly weapon.
And it really, it's really key to do
Perhaps you and I should do a winch recovery safety
that. Yeah, that would be
safety
good.
one. I think
Yeah.
the next time we get together, we'll find a spot, get the winches out, and let's do a chat around the campfire about that, because you're absolutely right. I've seen guys using winches and the totally wrong contents of
Yeah,
what the winch is
exactly.
meant to do.
But I've used it a lot in the wrong way as well, I have to admit.
Sometimes you
you
are
don't have
stuck in a
much
position
choice.
and you have to.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know there are rules, and if you try and stick to the rules, then generally you're okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Just quickly, the engine, right?
Yeah.
So you said it was the 4.5 litre straight six.
Yeah.
Have you done anything else to it? Have you kept it standard out the box?
There's a lot going on under the bonnet, but the engine itself, no.
Yeah.
If I bought the car brand new, I may perhaps have put a little light pressure turbo on it, because it does lack power now. I've got so much weight.
Yeah.
I love playing in the dunes, and I can't really. I can get from A to B, but I can't play.
There's, you know, you either have an overlander or you have a dune basher.
Yeah,
You can't
I
have
agree.
both.
And I think it's absolutely solid. And I know if you do start playing, you lose reliability. And I have never ever
Yeah.
had any problems with the engine, which is great.
Batteries. Dual battery, how many batteries?
Yeah, two batteries.
Two batteries.
I bought a yellow top.
Yeah.
That was Icon actually. I didn't specifically ask for it, but it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's still in there. I've used
What's
it.
the management system you're using?
Piranha, I think.
Piranha. Same as what I'm
Okay.
I'm really happy with it
It's
as
pretty
well.
simple.
It's very simple, and that's what I love about it. It's something goes wrong, it's very easy to trace,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
off it goes.
And it works, you know, it works fantastically well. I kill the battery dead every day for over a year, charge it up again the next day. I've never changed the battery.
The abuse that they go through is
It's insane. I've been through 4 starter batteries whilst I've
Oh,
had that
yes.
one.
yeah no. I feel your pain. Lights,
Yeah.
Casey's. You didn't go with the light bar.
Yeah, I got the light bar.
Oh, you got the light bar. Oh,
yeah.
we didn't see it over here.
American
Okay.
Off-Road.
From
I
Rami.
wanted a KC light bar.
Yeah.
And I asked Rami, and they said, look, it's going to take ages to come, it's going to cost this amount,
Yeah.
you can look elsewhere, or you can get one of these, and they're better value anyway.
Yeah.
I took it, and I thought, you know, I wanted a brand, I wanted something reliable.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times I've been underwater, and how many times it's been bashed about. It still works perfectly, and it's incredibly bright.
Absolute must if you're going to Africa.
Yeah,
Absolute
for
must.
sure.
The spread that it gives you with the animals coming across, an absolute must. And then these are obviously
Well,
for
yeah, and that's what I got them for, but with the light bar, they're just cosmetic.
yeah.
They serve no purpose.
For the dune work over here, fantastic, because that just flattens the dunes.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not
again,
a fan of the light bar in the dunes because it just.
I've heard that from a lot of people, but for me, it doesn't seem to have much of a.
I think maybe
much of an
because it's
impact.
lower down. You see, my light bar's up there. My spots
Okay,
are
I
down
see.
here.
Yeah.
So as soon as I switch that on, it's
Yeah.
flat. I don't
But,
see anything happening.
Now I think they look cool.
They do.
But most of the time they're not up there. I only put them up there for when I come out in the desert because I like them.
Yeah.
But this is the big game changer.
Safari Snorkel, absolute must. If you've got a
Yeah.
cruiser, the crap that comes with a Land Cruiser, same as the side steps that come with the Land Cruiser. I don't even know why Toyota bothers with that. I mean, seriously, just don't even offer it to us at all because we've got to go and spend umpteen amount of money to go and install a Safari Snorkel or whatever your brand is. But what's the point? Don't give us side steps. Don't give us the Snorkel. We're going to replace it anyway, or do it a proper job. I mean, this is a cruiser, for heaven's sakes. It should be proper.
Yeah, I agree.
Right, so let's move to the rear of the vehicle. This is an ARB bumper, correct?
No, this isn't actually.
Not. It looks just like the ARB bumper.
I probably would have got the ARB bumper. It was just the price that put me off.
Okay.
If I was to go back in time, I would get it.
Yeah.
For sure. But actually, no, this is an Icon custom bumper.
Okay, so this is the custom. The reason why I didn't recognize the Icon one is because of the lights. Now you obviously then put the
No.
LED lights in there, and it came like
this
that.
is how it came, yeah.
Well, very nice.
The problem I
haven't
do
seen it.
have with the lights, though, is the way that Icon wired it. The fuse that they used was wrapped in wire.
Okay.
And clearly something went wrong at some point when we were, I think originally in Ethiopia, and I came to the back of the car and it was just smoking.
Ooh.
So I went and investigated, found the point, pulled out the fuse, and there was this thing wrapped in wire. So I've had a number of issues with the wiring, but the bumper itself, otherwise, it has been pretty good.
Yeah, and I mean, these hitches over here to double up as a recovery hitch as well as a hitch.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't fault it. You can either go with a ball and then change it to the recovery hitch every time,
exactly.
or this is your dual purpose. Those are fantastic.
There's one minor point with this. When I snapped the axle a while back, and the tow, it was a small tow truck, you know, the ones you might find in South Africa, for example, and he picked the whole of the car up on this.
Oh, okay.
And it did the job, and we didn't have much choice, and it got us to our campsite where we put on some bricks and stayed for a couple of weeks. But this then did bend up.
Okay.
But you know, it still does the job. I'm probably not going to pick up the car on it ever again. So
well,
I'm happy.
traveling on the trip, what, she was probably weighing close to 4 tons at the time.
About 3.5.
3.5 tons, so 3.5 tons off that.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's not made for going up, it's made
Exactly.
for pulling.
Yeah.
So the way that it's built. So tell us about the rear end over here. ARB fridge. I've heard many mixed reviews on ARB fridges. I've got people that have it for 3 months and then it just breaks down, and then I've got guys that swear by ARB fridge. So tell us your experience.
I have to say, I am a massive ARB fan, all round. And before any comments come online, I paid the full price, GCC price for everything ARB on this car, and I love them. Yeah. Doing it again, everything that ARB have, I would get. The fridge. This is my second fridge. The first one broke in Zambia. I was in northern Zambia, right next to DRC, working in a chimpanzee reserve at the time, and I managed to sent an email to ARB and said, my fridge is broken, which is a problem for anyone, but for me it means I can't eat anymore. I have to go and just eat pap or whatever you call it in the different countries. I can't buy meat. I can't take it anywhere. This is a real issue. What are you going to do? Yeah. And I was expecting an apology email or I'll take a voucher. They shipped a fridge, and it's not a light item. Yeah. They shipped it to me, literally to the nearest town, and this is it. And there's another thing about these fridges. There's an older one that didn't have the digital display. It had a display much like you'd see on a calculator. Yes. Different mechanism, had a bit of an issue that happened quite often. This one doesn't. That issue's been fixed. It draws, I don't know how much power it draws mathematically, but I do know that I wake up in the morning, the temperature will still be the same. I keep it on 0. I leave it until midday, perhaps not in the summer here, but it's still the same. Just running off one aux battery in the front.
Oh, ARB, well done for that.
Thank you.
That's really, really good. And then the draw system, custom built?
Yeah, it was. Initially it was built wrong. It came out a little bit more, and the fridge didn't fit in. Okay. So they had to rebuild it and then put this cage which goes over the fridge.
And who did this for you?
Icon.
Icon did the fridges as well. Well, I was actually there the other day, and they did the draw systems that they're doing right now are phenomenal. But it's great to see that their custom work's really good. I've seen some really good stuff coming out there. There's a 79 series there right now busy being built.
Yeah, I mean, I was massively disappointed by Icon, and I haven't been back for any work recently, and I hope that they've improved. But my experience, to be honest, it took them, I think they had the car for 7 months.
Somebody like you and somebody like me, they've cut their teeth and they've learned.
Figured it out. I hope so. I hope so. Maybe I'll go and try them again one day. But this is 3-ply plywood, so it's pretty heavy. If I were to go again, I'd go metal. Yeah. So they're doing all their stuff now, either aluminum or thin 2mm sheet metal. Yeah. Okay. Which makes more sense. I mean, it can rattle, but this is probably a bit heavy. But you know what? I've been using them every single day for 18 months. I did have to change the runners. You'll now see I've got a second set.
Yeah, because the amount of weight.
Because the amount of weight that it holds.
Well, it's not just that. It's the amount of weight that we put in. Just quickly, it adds up so quick.
Yeah. So it's still going well. They've got locks on too, which I like. So that's that. There's a metal steel cage going around the outside of the fridge. Yeah. There's a big issue I have with the fridges because everyone wants a fridge, but you stick it in the back and you put it on this runner, which everyone also wants. But then all of that space around the fridge, you can't fill it. If you use it, then you can't use the runners.
Yeah.
So with this cage, it allows the ventilation, which is a problem we also learnt early on. So it can still stay cold, and you can put things on top. I've got a big barbecue or braai on top here. Down the side, I've got the awning for the ARB tent, which is essential in cold and wet weather. First aid
privacy
kit.
for a couple of days. You're staying in one place.
Exactly, you can have a shower in there, or if you're in a national park without a fenced campsite, then you feel a little bit safer perhaps when you're sorting yourself out.
Of course.
But there's an awful lot going on back here. I mean, I've got a knife, always handy to have a knife, fire extinguisher, bigger speakers because the standard radios, of course, terrible.
But everything's really accessible, and that's what I like about the way you put your truck together. I mean, we could sit and talk about this truck probably for about 10 hours, and we wouldn't get through half the stuff. But I think from what you can see from here is everything is really accessible, and that is something you only learn through time. There's no ways that you can speak to James, you can speak to myself, you can speak to a couple of other overlanders that have been doing this for a long time. Nobody can give you any advice except for you got to learn on your own. You got to realize what's good, and invariably you pack your vehicle and you go on a trip, and half the stuff you don't need.
Exactly.
And
I don't know how many people I sent flying home with massive suitcases that have stuff that had been in here before.
But that's trial and error. There's nothing else we can do about it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So this review's been going on for pretty much 24 hours, and we haven't even covered a quarter of this vehicle. So I think we're going to have to split this into a part 2 series, James.
I think you're right.
But before we leave, and before I actually need to get some food in and probably some sleep. So before we leave, this addition that you've built on this side. So we discussed that you'd built on, and you got the Max Tracks on the other side. What is this?
It kind of developed over time, if I'm honest. When we were researching the vehicle, I'd heard of some people that had things in the back door. So you open the back door and the table slides down. It looked pretty good, but they're quite small.
Yeah.
So initially we were looking at that, and I thought, well, you know what, there's nothing happening here. I might as well fill it with something useful. So I came up with the idea for this table. Took it to Limbada in Sharjah, as per the match traps on the other side.
Yeah.
And here we go. I'll show you how it works. It's pretty simple. There you go.
There's your table.
If I'm honest, we don't use it that much because my wife is not quite as tall as I am.
Yeah.
And it is quite high up. We might put it a little bit lower if we were going to do it again. And we've got a bigger table that's quite mobile that we keep inside.
Yeah.
But you know what, if you just want a coffee in the morning,
or a quick lunch as you're going along, quick and easy.
Exactly.
But because I see you've got the awning on the wrong side, if you think about it, because everybody else normally runs the awning on the driver's side.
Yeah.
Now, well, for the right-hand drive people, the South Africans and Australians, this would be the right side of the vehicle for you. Well, it is the right side. We just use the left-hand side because we left-hand drive. And I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Quick and easy, off it goes. Great concept, and it's Limbada, you say?
Limbada, yeah.
Limbada. So for you, the stuff's gone through a hell of a lot of strain, and it's still going. So
it's going really
I think
well.
It's a really good plug for the company to put that together. So.
I mean, there are some other concerns we had about, you throw a big piece of metal that moves on the side of the car, it's going to start rattling. But, we put little rubber pads here that have started to perish a little bit. It doesn't rattle at all. This flapped for a little while, but then we closed it in the door. It does a good job. And the other thing, same with the Max Tracks on the other side, because we've got steel connecting the rear bumper, which is on the chassis, to the roof rack on top. It just gives that extra bit of rigidity when you're bouncing up and down on tracks all day long.
Makes sense. And then I think before we close off part 1, because I think the interior is going to take us a whole day as well. I keep on talking about these, and the best.
They're amazing.
And I suppose you picked this up in South Africa.
Yeah. This
as
and
you're
many,
going-
many other camp cover items. I mean, they're just, it's so strong, it's so durable. I remember watching a video of Andrew St. Pierre White a while ago.
Correct, yeah.
And he was talking about just being able to keep all your rubbish in.
Yeah.
You know, if it's a little bit of firewood, it could be rubbish, it could be charcoal, dirty things that you don't really want rolling around inside the car, and it's a bit of a hassle throwing them on the roof. Here you go, we keep in here plastic bags, cardboard to start fires,
Fire, yeah.
and then our rubbish just goes in here at the end of the day, and we got another bag in here if we're picking up charcoal on the side of the road.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
they're
great.
fantastic. I run, sometimes I've got 3 bags of wood that I fit in here because it becomes so big.
It's, yeah, exactly.
And that's basically almost 24 kgs of wood that goes in
Yeah.
here, and I've never had any issues. I haven't got any tears, I haven't got anything whatsoever, and,
Yeah.
and you've done your whole Africa trip and it looks like new. So
Yeah, it's great.
hopefully soon I've got 150 of these arriving in Dubai, so everybody can then
Thank God, I mean,
order them
yeah.
and get them done.
Yeah, they're good.
So part 1, we're going to close this off. We're going to get some
Alright.
sleep, get some food. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right, and we'll catch you
Been
soon.
great. See you soon.
James, fantastic.
Bye-bye.